Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. This is KidNativeBloodyElbow.com, joined by Eddie Mercado making his debut on the sixth round on a big fight. UFC 200 is in the books. What say ye?
Oh man, what a main event, right? I mean, UFC 200, you have women finally fighting in the UFC, and they are headlining the biggest pay-per-view, I assume. I mean, this has to be the hugest event, right?
Nah. I guarantee you this is not going to beat the last couple of Rousey fights or the last couple of McGregor fights.
Not
Guarantee.
even with Brock?
Not even with Brock. The WWE, the secret to Brock in the past was the UFC paying the WWE to do a ton of advertising to WWE fans. They did not do it this time. If you notice, the WWE got advertisements for its SummerSlam pay-per-view on the UFC thing. So, and Brock, it's been a long time since we had Brock fever. So, no, this is going to do well. But with all the fiasco with John Jones and everything else, I don't know. To me, this had a little bit of Island of Lost Dolls. And as great as Amanda Nunes' performance upsetting Miesha Tate to take the women's bantamweight title, that's the fourth woman that's had her hands on that belt in 4 fights. You had Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm, Miesha Tate, Amanda Nunes. Sadly for Nunes, the mainstream media that was fascinated with Ronda Rousey, interested in Holly Holm, vaguely aware of Miesha Tate, does not give a fuck about Amanda Nunes. So, and I had fantasies, I think everybody did, of Ronda Rousey coming to the cage to challenge Miesha Tate. Should Tate win? No word of anything like that with Amanda Nunes. So great performance by Nunes, and it's totally out of her control. But the women's bantamweight is not the marquee division it briefly was. But let's talk about her performance, because she took it to Miesha Tate, hit her hard, straight, precise punches, club and sub all the way. Eddie, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was very impressed. She's always been somewhat of a fast starter. I mean, we saw that in her Kat Zingano fight. I mean, she almost beat Kat Zingano, and she kind of botched it late. But man, she came out fast. She came out hot, and I was impressed. I mean, she looked hungry, she looked angry, and she looked focused.
Oh
And
yeah, she was focused on Miesha Tate's nose, and,
oh my
and
God, she
it
was
was a bloody
leaking.
mess by the time she was done with it.
Yeah, she was leaking. It was not good. I mean, it was a I don't know. I mean, what does it say about the women's, bantamweight division? I mean, it kind
It,
of lines it up for Ronda to come back and face Amanda Nunes. It's like someone that no one knows who she is. Ronda comes in, face this unknown. Ronda will be the favorite as
yeah,
far as like fan favorite.
probably.
You know what I mean? Because you can't have Ronda getting booed. I feel like if she comes back versus Tate
Well,
or
Ronda always
Holly,
gets booed though. That's the secret sauce of Ronda. Is that Ronda excites. She's the heel, and but
but people don't boo Ronda. They boo her on the low. They boo her behind her back. They don't boo her when she's in the cage.
they've
You
booed her
know?
in the cage plenty of times, man. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know that Ronda would be the favorite in my odds making against Nunes. With those straight punches, Ronda might get flinchy in there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard to imagine Ronda not opening as a favorite just because of all the hype, all the
All
name
the dumb
value.
money pour in on Ronda.
Exactly. I mean, anyone who has ever heard of Ronda will be like, "Oh, she's fighting someone I've never heard of. Of course she's gonna win. Let's go dump some money on her."
Yeah. And now, if Ronda doesn't come back promptly, I'd love to see Holly Holm with Nunes.
Ooh, now I'm intrigued. Now I'm
Yes.
intrigued.
Yes. If you want to see violence against women, that fight is where you'll get some, because those ladies can throw down and both can hit really hard. But let's talk about Brock Lesnar and Mark Hunt. Not the most scintillating fight, but a strong performance by Lesnar, who dominated the first and third rounds with classic, not quite lay and pray, but takedowns and dominant positions and some striking on the ground. Didn't do anything to hurt Mark Hunt, but he certainly took Mark Hunt out of his game. And in the second round, when Lesnar couldn't get Hunt down, and Hunt did a great job with the takedown defense in that round, but he couldn't get any offense going.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a weird fight. I mean, I feel like Brock came out pretty hesitant, but rather comfortable on the feet, surprisingly. I mean, he still looked really awkward and jerky and just, like a big lug out there, like he's definitely not he hasn't been polishing his striking, I don't think. But
No.
I mean, he definitely impressed me though. I felt like his cardio was damn good. Yeah, he definitely slowed down in that second round, but I was shocked at how he was able to, they weren't the most devastating strikes, but they were constant. Like his ground and pound volume was rather high in that third round. And I believe it was scored a 10-8 round, that third round. Because
Yeah,
the
on a couple
scoring was
cards.
a little bit a little bit odd, I thought. 29-27
All
for
three cards. So that means all three judges gave a 10-8 round, and presumably it was the first or third for Lesnar.
it had
Great
to
performance by Lesnar. Mark fought a gritty fight, but was in there competing, was stuffing takedowns in the second round. I mean, Lesnar hit a wall, but he came through it. He survived. Hunt's reach was probably a limiting factor because Lesnar wasn't exactly coming in and testing his chin on Hunt's hands. I mean, he was staying far away.
Yeah, I don't think Lesnar landed a single power shot on the feet. I think they were all maybe jabs if he landed anything.
Yeah, what he landed, the best shots he threw were jabs, and he was throwing some bullshit. Stick your hand out in the air like you just don't care crap that was about to get him hurt. I mean, I was amazed that he was in there doing that, pulling that with Mark Hunt and surviving to tell the tale. But all in all, he comes away with the win. I thought it was most interesting when Rogan asked him what's next, and Lesnar's like, one day at a time. And I think his head was turning. Depends how many millions of dollars Lorenzo wants to throw at me, dude. He's like, I don't give two shits about coming to the back of the UFC. I got another big payday from the WWE in a couple weeks. Like, yeah, y'all come to me with some big suitcases full of money and we'll talk.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's definitely top 10. I mean, he just beat the number 8 heavyweight in the world. But on the same token, I feel like with the performance he put on, like there's no way he's beating anyone in the top 5. I just can't see it. Like I just can't see him surviving on the feet with just the kind of technical.
With Cain Velasquez unleashing wheel kicks, yeah, Brock Lesnar's not going to survive in the cage very long with that shit. I mean, that's like, what? Tiger Shark's got radar. What am I supposed to do with this? Like,
definitely sharks with laser beams going on for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and we're jumping around talking about the opener for the pay-per-view. We need to stop by and talk about Daniel Cormier beating Anderson Silva, unanimous decision, 30-26, all the way across. Silva landed maybe one shot with a liver kick late in the fight that staggered Cormier briefly, but otherwise it was a classic wrestling lay and pray is a harsh term, but it was a lay and pray fight. I mean, and he admitted as much afterwards, but Cormier, everybody saw the emotional roller coaster that Cormier went on. And then for the UFC to come out and do a promo before the fight just to shit on John Jones. They weren't building anything with that promo. They were just telling the story of the fight. And, as it happens, the story of the fight looks really fucking bad for John Jones, who's not here. And did we mention fuck him? Like,
not to mention its potential, but, it's almost like a disclaimer. It's like, hey, this fight's going to suck. Sorry, here's why.
Yeah, pretty much. Jones's manager, Malky Kawa, tweeted, wow, after that promo came out. And it must have felt like the dude in Friday who got his ass kicked and had the dude going, you got knocked the fuck out. I mean, the Jones camp is at a low point, disgraced himself again, this time with performance enhancing drugs. I can't pronounce the name of the substance they accuse him of, and neither could Jones, but yeah, I mean, inexplicable. My guess, and this is the guess, is that he was taking tainted supplements. Supplements are completely, wildly unregulated. You can put anything in there. If you can catch Harry Potter and a bunch of magical Hogwarts creatures, you can grind them up and put them in your supplement. I mean, whatever you want to do is fair game, and a lot of that shit just so happens to pop positive for PEDs, and so multi-gazillion dollar fight down the toilet. So instead we had Daniel Cormier fighting one of the all-time greats who showed up with a dad bod, and you can't blame him. He had 2 days notice. He's coming off gallbladder surgery. I mean, I've never identified with Anderson Silva so much in my life, but he had nothing for Cormier, and Cormier was reasonably wary of him, and this is what we got.
It was definitely sad, and I mean,
But
Nobody
also
was
kind
doing
of
it.
inspiring. I liked Anderson's speech afterwards.
For sure, for sure. I mean, and that's the thing is Anderson only gained fans in that fight. You know, he didn't quit. He stayed safe the whole time under Daniel Cormier. I mean, he
Yeah.
really didn't take much damage for having DC on top of you for all that time. I mean, that is
Yeah.
pretty damn impressive.
It was nothing like when Cormier fought Dan Henderson, which was my nightmare version of this fight. I did not, because he made Henderson, who, as we've seen, is still a legitimate threat in the middleweight division, at least. He made Henderson look like, my granny in there getting tossed around, and it looked like elder abuse. And I was afraid, that might happen to Silva. But like Cormier said, he hadn't trained for him. He'd been training for John Jones, had this horrible nightmare week where the trap door is pulled out from under him. He's psychologically ready to face John Jones again. Can you imagine how intense that is, especially after you've already tasted the kind of ass beating that John Jones can hand out and lost to him, and then had all this go on, all this melodrama with John Jones, and then this, train for the rematch, and then boom,
You gotta feel for DC, and on top of all of that,
and then he gets booed.
He gets the greatest of all time down. He's doing his thing, and it's met with utter boos and chants of stand them up.
That Big John McCarthy listened to repeatedly. Yeah. Stood him up when it was very arguable, but I didn't object. I wanted to see Silva get a shot to knock him out too. So, it is what it is. But let's talk about what I think is the best and most important performance of the night. Featherweight interim champion Jose Aldo beats Frankie Edgar to claim the belt. Unanimous decision. Edgar looked sharp in the first round, came out aggressive, was showing a lot of kicks, doing things we hadn't seen from him before. But late in the round, Aldo cracked him 2 or 3 times. And from there, it was just a matter of watching Aldo just erode Frankie Edgar. The initiative and the mojo was all gone after the first time he got hurt. And he fought a game, gritty fight. But, early on, he was landed a huge right hand early on that you could see Aldo's cheek was swollen up at the end of the fight from that punch. But after that, no really big – he landed, but he didn't land hard like that. And Aldo just wore him down, put on a great performance. Hardly saw any leg kicks out of the champ. He looked sharp as shit.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad to see that kind of performance after such a devastating knockout. Because honestly, I had to pick Edgar in that fight just because I didn't know where Aldo stood. Like, I had no idea. And did you see when they're announcing Aldo's name, how Joe Rogan starts hyping up the physique of Aldo? Did you catch that?
Yes.
I was like, oh, you pube. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it was but it was good to see him back. It's frustrating. Conor McGregor was cage side and talking a little shit, but McGregor's diverted off into his own path where he's wandered away. They've got interim title in the division now, and Aldo's got it. Aldo might never get another crack at Conor McGregor. We don't have any idea what's going to go on with Mystic Mac. He's got to fight Nate Diaz at UFC 202. They had a great promo for that with Nate Diaz, but I didn't hear Conor McGregor on mic at all tonight.
I guess it's kind of hard to talk the whole injured gazelle talk when you just got choked the fuck out.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to, you talk the shit, you didn't back it up. All right, let's try not to talk so much shit this time.
But I don't think that's his decision. I don't think the UFC would have any problem with putting him out there to look stupid if they wanted to promote him. I think they're just pissed at him and don't want to invest the time in promoting him. I'll be very curious to see. Obviously, they'll promote the shit out of UFC 202, but it'll be very interesting to see how much they let him control that narrative. It seems like Nate Diaz has taken a lot of the rub off Conor McGregor, and deservedly so, because Nate Diaz is a fucking star. He was always in his brother's shadow, Nick Diaz, but he very much had legit, very similar persona to Nick Diaz. He was a compliment. His little brother right there with him the whole run, and been in many a brawl alongside Nick Diaz and Jake Shields and Gilbert Melendez and that whole crew. And now he's the big dog, and he's squeezing Lorenzo by the balls. He's smacking Dana upside the head. He's getting big money. He's talking big shit, and it's awesome, and people love it.
Yeah, it's one of those stories where, the hard work pays off. The guy who took every single fight finally got his due.
Who always is triathloning, always ready. Like, he took the McGregor fight on short notice and managed to win by riding out the early McGregor blitz and having the cardio to pour it on late and take out McGregor. And it's awesome. And it was a great promo. So I hope that Aldo gets a shot at McGregor again or gets an epic fight at some point. But honestly, I'm not expecting it. It's not, I just feel like McGregor beat him so, one punch, 13 seconds, so one-sided. And McGregor fans barely knew who Aldo was anyway, except as a foil for McGregor's shit talk. And I don't know where the McGregor fans are going to go should McGregor lose to Nate Diaz, which I'm kind of thinking he will, but maybe I'm wrong, but who knows?
I mean, in all honesty, McGregor might be done if he loses again. He might just take his ball and go home and be like, fuck this, I got my money, I'm out.
Yeah, honestly, absolutely. And the narrative of his story was, he was so good and so confident and everything. If you lose 2 fights to Nate Diaz, where do you take that act, Like, yeah, you're heading back to Dublin with it. But I do want to give a shout out to Frankie Edgar. I was a harsh critic of him early on, especially when he was beating up BJ Penn or decisioning BJ Penn. But then those 2 fights with Gray Maynard won me over completely. I'm a huge mark for Frankie Edgar. He put on a great win streak. I mean, he beat Cub Swanson, my favorite, put together a great streak, looked great, gets back to the mountaintop again, and just can't handle Jose Aldo. No shame in that, but he can't handle Jose Aldo. It looked Faber-esque. I mean, he did better than Faber did, but I mean, it looked like there's just no way I can solve this puzzle.
Yeah, he just has his number, and he's just one of those guys that will always have his number. Like I don't think I'll ever see, even if they fought a third time, I just don't see Edgar having the kind of venom that he needs to really hurt Aldo and really make him take that backward step. And the threat of the takedown is becoming less and less and less with Frankie, I feel like. So
yeah, and Aldo's takedown defense was brilliant. So great performance from Jose Aldo. I look forward to seeing him put together another featherweight run, and maybe, just maybe, he'll get another crack at Conor McGregor. He certainly deserves it, and there's no doubt he'll do better the second time around because you couldn't do any worse. But I think that ship might have fallen. Now, he's not as screwed as Rafael Dos Anjos, who got hurt and pulled out of a bout with Conor McGregor. And this is a guy who went from, I'm going to be a millionaire, to I'm not ever going to see that kind of money in my life. And now he's lost the title to Eddie Alvarez. So that was a couple nights ago. But let's talk about Cain Velasquez, former heavyweight champ, just obliterating Travis Brown. First round, 4 minutes, 57 seconds. TKO. Started it with a wheel kick to the head. I could not believe that. That wasn't the key blow. It was blocked. It landed. But mostly it just, you could see Travis Brown's brain going, did I just eat a wheel kick from Cain Velasquez? Like, that did not happen. And then Cain caught him with the left hand, and it was on from there. Just a powerful performance from Cain Velasquez. Good stuff.
Dude, he wiped the floor with him. Brown, he did not have one moment in that fight. I mean, I don't know if it was Brown didn't show up, or is Cain just that good? Like, is
Cain's just that good?
I mean, the gap at the top just so far from the pack,
It is in the skill set. Brown's got a deficit in wrestling, and that is such a crucial thing to give up against Cain Velasquez because it makes you freeze. You're always worried that he's going to take you down and beat on you or just put you up against the clinch. And the joke I've been throwing around is that, Cain better take a hell of a shower tonight before he gets home to his wife, because he's got to be reeking of Ronda Rousey after the beating he put on Travis Brown. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like he took any shine that dude had and just rubbed it all over himself. Now he's ready to challenge for the title. I don't know. Would you like to see a Cain Velasquez Brock Lesnar rematch?
Yeah. Well, I would like to see a rematch with anybody Brock faced. Honestly, anyone that Brock has ever faced, I would love to see them fight again.
They're not digging up Randy Couture, man.
Yeah, okay, that's the only one.
Heath Herring either. I don't think Heath Herring's going to come back, but
I don't know. He's been talking about it. He's trying to wait it out.
And Ricardo Arona returns from Pride after these 15 years. But yeah, now, yeah, Cain Velasquez, man. I mean, I'd love to see him get a shot at the title. Stipe Miocic, I think Cain steps in the cage with Stipe, he's going to walk out with the belt.
I kind of feel like Cain needs another, I don't want
Another fight to get there. I wouldn't begrudge.
I don't want to say a gimme because there's no gimmies in the heavyweight division, but give him something that that isn't so, intense in 5 rounds. Give him another 3-rounder.
Although, I mean, do you really think Stipe could beat him?
I don't think it's a matter of that. It's a matter of, can Cain get through another training camp healthy?
Yeah, that really is sadly yeah, that's the thing. He claims he's learned how to not get hurt, but I'll believe it when I see it. I mean,
yeah,
Cain
at 100% is the scariest man on the planet, and I would not pick anyone to beat him. But I just can't.
Unless you're at altitude. If you're at 8,000 feet.
Unless you're at altitude, of course.
Yeah, because and Verdum does stylistically match up pretty well against him. But so a Verdum rematch. Now, Alistair Overeem would be another fun one. But Stipe is the guy with the belt right now, and I'd love to see Cain get that. But the idea of a Cain Velasquez Brock Lesnar rematch just has a certain appeal to me. Although they don't want to snuff the Brock candle. I mean, they're going to let him fight. I don't know who.
Hopefully, Shane Carwin will come back. He said he would, if the price was right, he would definitely come back. So,
yeah, but they screwed Shane Carwin so hard when he was at the top of his game. Plus, with all the USADA stuff going on, I don't know how Carwin would adapt to that situation. And speaking of that, we'll get to Johnny Hendricks in just a moment. But first, let's talk about Juliana Pena, who beat Kat Zingano. Really impressive performance. She rode out an early first round rush from Zingano when she got hip tossed and was taking some ground and pound, but turned it around and came back, nearly choked her out. Didn't quite do it, but totally dominated the last 2 rounds and took the unanimous decision.
Yeah, she definitely stepped it up. I was shocked. I didn't think she'd be able to handle Kat the way she did. Like you were saying, it was a little bit of a rough start for her. She did get tossed around a little bit, and even a little bit at the beginning of the second round. But man, once she got on that top position, it was a wrap. Kat had no answers for anything she was doing. I mean, Kat was surviving, and she did a really good job of surviving. But, I mean, if that's all you're doing.
Yeah, and she's right in there to get a title shot with Amanda Nunes. Now, Holly Holm, does Holm have a fight booked that I'm sleeping on?
Holly, I'm not sure.
I don't think so, because I think they've been saving Holly for Ronda Rousey if Ronda comes back, and I mean, obviously they want to get Rousey an immediate title shot, but I think Juliana Pena could be right in there with Nunes, and we could very easily see a 5th woman holding that belt.
Oh shit! So she's Holly's about to face Valentina Shevchenko.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. That's coming up
right
quick.
around the corner.
Yeah, I think Holm can take that one, but Shevchenko's a live dog, and if Shevchenko beats Holm, I mean, from a sporting perspective, the division's in great shape. It's having fun, a lot of good competitors. Skill-wise, it's just jumping up. The level of skill you have to have the title in that division is just chunk, 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 chunk. But as a money proposition, it's diving off a cliff from the Ronda Rousey days, should that happen. But we'll see. If Nunes can put together some wins, it's hard to see her ever. She's not ever going to be a Ronda Rousey type, but she could be a respectable draw, maybe headlining Fox shows or something. I don't see her as a big pay-per-view draw. But let's talk about Kelvin Gastelum, Ultimate Fighter, beating Johnny Hendricks in a catchweight fight because somebody who can't run a steakhouse can't make weight anymore either. Now, this was a guy who talked a lot of shit about drug testing before he fought George St. Pierre in a fight that he dominated but didn't win. And then now that they've got drug tests, suddenly Johnny can't make weight. This is the second time. He had a fight with Tyrell Woodley. They had to cancel the whole fight because he was on the verge of kidney failure. And now this. Kelvin looked fine, and it wasn't that dominant performance, but he dominated, mostly on the feet. Hendricks just isn't Johnny Hendricks anymore.
Yeah, it's almost the shell of Johnny Hendricks. I mean, I wonder how much longer he's going to be around.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's either he just really lost his motivation, or this whole new weight cutting, different weigh-in procedures and different drug testing regimens. Now, I'm not saying he was doing performance enhancing drugs. I'm just saying that, hey, I noticed that as it happened, once they instituted the new test, his career went to shit. That's all. I'm not,
Honestly,
that's all.
Well, for that matter, since they instituted the new testing, titles have been shifting hands nonstop. Juggling is just insane.
Yeah. Give the scientists some time to catch up, and a few guys will figure out how to navigate the USADA thing at least for a while. But right now, nobody seems to have a handle on it. And I mean, Gastelum's got to be in the picture at welterweight. It seems like
he's top 10 now for sure.
Yeah, and champion Robbie Lawler has Stephen Wonderboy Thompson to worry about, but Gastelum is 12 before he came into this fight. Hendricks was 6, so Gastelum's going to shoot up. Hendricks is going to shoot down, and I don't see Gastelum beating Lawler or Wonderboy, but he's a gritty kid and still improving a little bit. So we'll see.
Yeah, he definitely looked consistent throughout the entire fight, which I liked. I thought he looked good. He looked composed. He wasn't sloppy. So, and he made weight.
Yeah, that he did. He's had struggles there too. And then we had a bantamweight, TJ Dillashaw, ex-champion, avenged a split decision loss to Rafael Asuncao with the unanimous decision, 30-27 all the way across the boards. It wasn't the most exciting fight, but Dillashaw just dominated him on the feet with hard counters, and Rafael just really didn't have anything for TJ tonight.
Asuncao hits hard, but he couldn't cut the octagon off. And TJ just would refuse to stand in front of him to be there to get hit. I mean, his footwork is too advanced. He's just, he outclassed him tonight.
Yeah, he did.
Very impressive.
Yeah, and in Rafael's defense, he's coming off a long layoff from injury, so hopefully he'll get a tune-up fight for his next bout and stay healthy, and we'll see what he does from here. Then you have lightweight Sage Northcutt beating Enrique Marin, squeaking by a unanimous decision, 29-28. Almost got his arm broken twice in the second round. And if my 3-year-old shows up at daycare screaming, break it on Monday, I'm not saying I said that, but that might be the reason why, if she shows up at daycare, if her teacher's watching this, which God, I hope she's not. But yeah, Northcutt, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling the hype, man. I mean, he survived a squeaker with a guy that he should have wiped the floor with.
And here's the thing. With Sage, he's just really green on the ground, and it's evident. And so, like, at this stage, like, he's athletic enough to get out of arm bars from that guy. You know what I mean? But if that was Gilbert Burns, like, get out of here. Gilbert Burns would have took that arm home. You know what I mean?
Indeed. Yes, indeed. So, I mean, and the thing is, Sage has gifts, clearly, but fight IQ is not one of them. There was a point there where his corner was like, you're beating him up on the feet. Stay out of the clinch. I repeat, stay out of the clinch. Sage, where do you want to be with the clinch? That's right, out of the clinch. And then the bell starts. Sage is in there by himself. A couple exchanges that Sage dominates, and then Sage decides we're going to clinch now. And it's just like, kid, pull your head out of your ass. It's like me trying to get my 8-year-old to not wear flip-flops on long walks. It's like, you wonder why you scraped your heel on the sidewalk. You're wearing flip-flops. You're walking for a mile in 100 degrees heat. Put some shoes on, kid. Sage just doesn't listen. Had to be infuriating for his coach dad. Yeah, the whole Sage Northcutt thing. Let the kid get some seasoning. Why is he on this card in the first place? Like, just let him grow up a little bit, get some seasoning. We'll see what we got. But they're rushing this biscuit.
If they're gonna keep giving him guys like that, I'm okay with it. But
I mean, that's fine. But don't hype him up and put him on cards like this. That's a fight pass fight. If I want to see a kid as green as this fighting a guy that's frankly not going to be in the UFC for any length of time, I want to see it on Fight Pass let's see it on a Wednesday night card. I mean, if it's just the hype on Sage Northcutt making me break out in hives. But anyway, let's talk about the 3 ulsters that they had on the Fight Pass card. Actually, the Fight Pass card was pretty fun. And the headliner, Joe Lozon, knocked out Diego Sanchez, the first person to wake up the nightmare. I mean, to put the nightmare to sleep. I've been planning that all evening and screwed that up completely. Minute 26 seconds. I mean, Joe looked sharp, and we've never seen Diego, not even Gilbert Melendez could knock. We've seen Diego take some hellacious beatings, and that might be why Lozon was able to knock him out. But Lozon's boxing looked very precise.
He looked hungry. Lozon looked hungry. He looked possessed. Like he knew exactly what he was. You know what? It looked like when he fought Jens Pulver, that same kind of, you know what, I'm going to come out and I'm going to punch the shit out of you. And you're going to eat it and take it. And that's it. And that's what he did. And you know what? I just really hope this isn't a sign of things to come for Diego Sanchez. Because
I think it is, man. He looked like Leonard Garcia in there. I mean, that's, you know, Diego has burned that candle in every direction, and I don't know that there's enough stevia in the world to reignite that flame, man. I mean, this guy, he's had a great run, limited physical abilities, but incredible will and fortitude and guts. But for a couple years, he's just been getting by on, I'm going to brawl like crazy and see what happens. You know, I'm just going to have these fun fights, not big money, but money fights, you know, the moneyest fights he can get. And you don't see any kind of wrestling game from him anymore. You don't see his grappling game. It's just wailing. And tonight he fought a guy who was boxing with him and just beat the piss out of him.
Yeah, it almost looked like. Did you happen to see the when Joe Lozon fought his brother in the front yard?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it looked almost similar to that. You know, just Diego looked like a little brother just getting the shit kicked out of him by his brother for like stealing his underwear or something.
Yeah, it was rough. And so good win for Lozon, bad loss for Diego. And I hope he considers where he's going with this, because he's taken a lot of brain trauma in the last few years. And, you know, I don't know to what purpose he should be taking a great deal more. In the second fight, you had Gegard Mousasi knockout Thiago Santos, TKO, 4 minutes, 32 seconds of the first round, beat him up on the feet, went down on the ground. And then when he stood up, caught him with a hellacious walkaway uppercut. And that was that.
Man, I was super excited to see Gegard be so aggressive in this fight. Like I've been waiting so long just to see, you know, some killer instinct from the guy. You know, he has all the tools in the world. He has all the ability. He has, you know, he's not the most athletic guy, but he's athletic enough.
Yeah, he's real athletic. I mean, you know, he's not John Jones athletic, but he's pretty athletic. The job done.
He can hang with any top athlete. And Santos is real athletic. I mean, that dude he's built.
Yeah.
But, man,
and quick.
Bravo for Gegard. You know, he came out and he put the stamp on that dude.
Well, I think he was pissed because he said after the fight, he told Submission Radio that he had been promised Daniel Cormier. And he thought he was going to be on the pay-per-view, getting the pay-per-view money. A big fight, a fight that he could have done he could very easily have surprised Daniel Cormier, who would have been jumping up a division in weight. But, you know, I don't know that that's that big a disadvantage. And, you know, it is what it is. But great performance from Mousasi, and with Michael Bisping now holding the middleweight belt, there's opportunities. There's lanes open for this kid if he can get the right fights. So I'd love to see him against Jacare in any number of fights from Mousasi, especially if he can keep the lethal instinct. And then in the opener, Jim Miller snuffed the Fireball kid, Takanori Gomi. Won first round, 2 minutes, 18 seconds. I mean, Gomi has played out the string.
Yeah, I don't know if he should fight anymore, honestly.
I mean, I feel like Gomi can smoke all the cigarettes and drink all the beer he wants without, I mean, how big can the paycheck for this be? You know, like surely Gomi can find some other way to make money somehow. I mean, and keep himself in Funyuns and cigarettes or whatever he's up to, hanging out with Sakuraba over there. But it is not serious state-of-the-art 21st century training, whatever it is.
He's got no place else to go.
It seems that way. It's a sad end for the Fireball kid, who was once absolutely the best lightweight in the world. I mean, he came out of a big tournament, won it, dominated the Pride lightweight division for several years when it was the division, absolutely was the linear champion in that division for a long time. And then, when Pride collapsed, he really was a Ronin fighting for some failed. So he was in the secondary Japanese promotion for a long time when they had two different promotions, both trying to be the new Pride, and then comes over to the UFC. Has had some luck. He knocked out Tyson Griffin with an incredible punch and had another couple wins, but has had a lot of losses and just got snuffed by Jim Miller. And Jim Miller, while still good, is not what Jim Miller used to be.
For sure. I mean, 3 straight first-round TKO losses. I mean, you really need to start assessing your personal health at that point. And yeah, I mean, he's not, he's no world beater necessarily, but boy, did he look like it tonight.
Yeah.
He came out and absolutely, I mean, that's textbook. He came out, took him down, and just fucking wailed on him.
Yeah. And Gummy just had nothing. So, it's a wild ride. UFC 200's in the books. It definitely didn't have the big time event aura that UFC 100 did. I mean, UFC 100 was one of those things where the UFC was absolutely at the crest of what had been an incredible 5-year run, starting with the Ultimate Fighter breakthrough in 2005. Get to 2009 or 2010, whenever UFC 100 happened, and you had Brock Lesnar had organically grown through several fights with the promotion into the biggest star going. He had brought his WWE fans with him. He had definitely a love-hate relationship with UFC fans, but it was the talk of the town when Brock Lesnar was fighting at UFC 100. Then you had Georges St. Pierre, a great champion at the peak of his powers. And as excited as I was for this card, and as much as I was like, wow, they really did go way out of their way to stack it as thick as they could, and thank God they did, given all the fights that they lost. But as I was writing up my post for SBNation.com on this card, I kept having to not use the phrase former champion, because that you had so many of them on this card, and it's like with some of these people, Brock Lesnar hasn't fought in years. It looks like he's still got some juice left. Now he's in the top 10 should they want to pay him, and that's going to be expensive, and they'll have to pay the WWE too. I'm not expecting Brock Lesnar to necessarily come back to the UFC. I mean, they clearly, once they lost the Conor McGregor fight for this card, they brought in, they opened up the wallets to pay for Brock Lesnar because they needed this card to do well. And we'll see, how well that paid off. And of course, you had John Jones, Daniel Cormier fight collapse just days before. So, they were snake bit to some extent, but at the same time, Lorenzo and Dana are the ones that pulled Conor and Nate off this card. They did that to themselves. Now, they might have needed to put Conor in his place. I mean, I know I wouldn't want the mouthy kid trying to run my business, but
especially if you're trying to sell your business, you don't want anyone thinking or acting like they're bigger than the company. You got to squash everybody.
Yeah, but you don't want to do it so much that you cut your own nose off. And that UFC 202 is going to be big, but it's not going to be as big as it would have been if it was UFC 200.
Mm-hmm. And now, even John Jones being off the card, I feel like that would have given it that epic feel. Like that was missing.
Yeah.
I almost feel robbed by John Jones.
Oh, I definitely feel robbed by John Jones. I mean, the thing was, the Jones-Cormier rematch definitely didn't have the heat of the first one, but it would have had an element of a possible redemption tale of Jones, having served out his suspension and coming back, and now he's fucked up again, and we're left with this. I mean, they still pulled off a great show, but from the web traffic we've seen so far, this was in no way, shape, or form as big as the last couple of McGregor fights, the last few Ronda Rousey fights. Definitely not going to be breaking records for pay-per-view sales, but I think all the hardcore UFC fans and a lot of casual UFC fans, I guarantee you, tuned in. We're doing great numbers on this show right now. So,
what'd you think of the golden octagon ring?
That looked like some Toyo Tires ghetto-ass.
Did it not remind you of King of the Cage?
It did, man.
Or like pre-Reebok fight shorts, you know what I mean?
I was like, is this Friday night and I'm watching the good old HD net back when I still paid attention to regional MMA? I mean, that's, it was a strange decision there to go with the yellow octagon, the piss pool. But It's in the books. Thanks for filling in for Zane Simon, Eddie. So subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube and get all our shows. Subscribe to MMA Nation on iTunes. You can get the audio without the uglies. Follow me on Twitter. Eddie, what's your Twitter handle?
Find me on Twitter at the Eddie Mercado.
The Eddie Mercado, much like the Zane Simon. Follow me at KidNate. Read us both at bloodyelbow.com. We'll be back next week early for the McDonald versus Lineker fight night. That's on Wednesday night, I believe. So we'll try to rush in the Care Don't Care preview in the vivisection for that. And then Eugene will have Knuckle Up tomorrow night, and it'll run on the site on Monday. So thanks, Eddie, and adios, MMA aficionados.